Now, before I get started here, I want to just kind of put a short disclaimer here, because in the intro, there's my dog, she's going to be guest starring. In the intro, I said this video is dedicated to Chris Benoit as well as the two people that are considered the victims in this case. I don't want anybody to sit there and say I condone what Chris supposedly did. I don't want people to sit there and say that, oh, I'm just biased because I was a Chris Benoit fan and I watched Chris Benoit when he was alive and well. I want everybody to know that I do not condone murdering under any circumstance, obviously. I'm not a psychopath. And what Chris supposedly did that weekend back in June of 2007 was very despicable. However, I have in previous videos said that it was proven that Chris Benoit had extreme brain damage and thus he was delusional and did not have control over his actions. Thus, I do not blame Benoit for what happened. So with that in mind, let's get on with it. So, in this episode of Conspiracy Theories, we're looking at, as I said, the infamous Chris Benoit. The superstar, the wrestler, the former professional wrestler, whatever you want to call him, that WWE does not want you to know was ever in their ring. He held their World Heavyweight Championship, main evented WrestleMania 20, and was considered one of the greatest, and still today, to diehard wrestling fans such as myself, still considered one of the greatest of all time. So, back in June of 2007, Chris Benoit supposedly killed his wife by strangulation, killed his son the next day by strangulation of some sort, but he was extremely drugged, so they say that they don't believe that Daniel Benoit felt any pain, and then the next day Chris Benoit hanged himself. While all of this was going on, he stayed in contact very briefly with other wrestlers, primarily Chavo Guerrero, the nephew of the late Eddie Guerrero, who passed away in 2005 from a heart attack. And while sorry, I just went blank a little bit there. I apologize for that. And while all this was going, he sent text messages saying, "Front door, my physical address is blah 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 blah. Dogs are in the backyard, gate is open, this and that." People were very, very confused and understandably grew extremely concerned about this, and then they went ahead and had a welfare check done for the Benoit family, and as they say, the rest is history. The bodies were discovered. At first they thought maybe it was a freak accident, but then they found Benoit hanging, and obviously it was at first the public thought it was an accident. So WWE ran a tribute show to Chris Benoit on Monday Night Raw, and then the next night on ECW, the television show they used to do of ECW, Vince McMahon himself came out and apologized for the tribute show and said that Chris Benoit will never be mentioned on WWE TV again. And here we are almost 8 years later in 2015, and Chris Benoit has never been mentioned on WWE TV since, in almost 10 years. So, that's a long brief. I hope that was brief enough for you guys. I'm sorry. I just want to get it out there for people that aren't 100% familiar with it. I want to educate you guys as much as I can. So let's get into the official conspiracy theory. So the official conspiracy theory of the Chris Benoit murders, the Benoit tragedy, whatever you guys want to call it, is that Chris Benoit was framed and murdered by someone or by a person or persons, and some people even point the finger at former professional wrestler Kevin Sullivan. Now, first of all, I'm not going to even go into Kevin Sullivan because it's completely ridiculous. I'm just going to be completely discrediting that 100% because, as I said, it's ridiculous. And that's just my personal opinion. Other people, other Benoit videos out there, which there are plenty on the internet, talking about the conspiracies, will talk about Kevin, so if you're interested in that, go ahead, but I'm not going to sit here and slander this man. I, however, am going to be covering the thought that there was other murderers, another murderer or other murderers who took them out. So, let's get into it. So first of all, one of the biggest theories out there, one of the biggest things that feeds this theory is that why people believe this is because on Wikipedia, hours before the Benoit bodies were found, somebody announced that Nancy Benoit had passed away. Nancy Benoit, of course, being the wife of Chris Benoit, who was killed first. Now, they later went and they traced this, and it was traced to Connecticut, which is the same state where the WWE headquarters are at. And from what I understand about it, they've never found out who posted that. They've never found out who posted it, and it's never been fully explained. So a lot of people look at that as somebody new, or the killer updated it as some kind of a sick prank, or just wanted to get it out there first, just to let somebody know, hey, you know, we killed them. Who knows? Another thing that a lot of people have trouble dealing with is that Chris Benoit's cell phone and Nancy's cell phone, which Benoit supposedly texted both from, have never been found to this day. Now, I mind you that Chris Benoit supposedly texted Chavo Guerrero and a couple other employees of the WWE those weird text messages, but for some weird reason, the cell phones that he supposedly used have never been found. They have never found them. And this, even to me, is very, very weird and kind of suspicious. Another thing, too, is Chavo Guerrero was the last person to talk to Chris Benoit on the phone. Chris Benoit reportedly was on the phone. He sounded groggy. He did not sound like himself, and he just sounded very, very out of it. He ended the phone call with "I love you, Chavo," which Chavo reportedly found that kind of odd, even though he and Chavo were very, very close, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I love you, buddy," and stuff like that. He said it as an almost like a... It's very hard to explain, but he's just like, "I love you," and Chavo just didn't really think anything of it at the time, but now that he looks back on it, it really, really haunts him, basically. It's very, very odd. And another thing, too, is Chris Benoit, the way he hanged himself. He supposedly placed a towel around his own neck and then hanged himself. A lot of people don't understand why Benoit would do that, because if Chris was going to kill himself, why does he care what he's going to look like when he's dead? Why would he care about there being bruising and a strangulation mark around his neck? I mean, pretty much every suicide picture that you see of somebody that hung themselves and was taken down, cut down from their hanging, none of them went through that precaution. And that too was very, very weird. Another thing that was extremely weird and has never been explained is that near Chris Benoit's body was found, the police found a ton of empty alcoholic containers that were recently opened and drank. However, in Chris Benoit's body, there was no alcohol. There was no signs that he had drank at all. And they don't understand that. And they've never bothered to do a heavier search in it. And people have never bothered to be more interested. People haven't... I mean, yeah, there's some wrestling fans that do want it to be reopened. Hell, I do too. But not enough people have been pushing for it. These are the weird things that are going on in this case that have never been answered. And people, there's more questions with this case than there is answers. I mean, there really, really is. A lot of people on the internet will say these points that I've made, and then skeptics will retort and say, "Oh, come on, that's crazy, that's bullshit." Just face it. Your hero killed, an innocent woman, a child, and then himself like a coward. He's burning in hell somewhere. Blah 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 blah. Because those people just don't believe that there could be a bigger picture. You have to sit back and ask yourself, okay? What if Chris Benoit is actually innocent? What if he was innocent? I don't think anybody really thinks about that. I think people just try to be logical, what is considered to be logical, and they don't think about that. What if this man that is being cursed and said, "Oh, he's going to hell," and WWE has completely erased his existence? What if this man has been innocent for the last 8 years? And that's a question I think every wrestling fan has asked him or herself. I myself have done it. But, yeah, that's about it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to run any more than 10 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Conspiracy Theories. As far as what I think happened, I have no idea. Because, like I said, a big part of me thinks that, yes, Chris did it because he was mentally insane. But another part of me kind of questions stuff like that. Where are the cell phones? Who drank the alcohol? None of them had alcohol in their bodies. None of this has ever been explained. And the authorities just don't seem to care to explain it. I think it really needs to be explained. Anyway, guys, this is Keith Carnes. Thank you very much for viewing. Thank you to all my loyal subscribers. You guys are the best. And I will see you guys in the next. Thanks for watching. If you want to see any conspiracies, leave them in the comments below, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. I'll see you guys in the next. Take it easy.